Could USC go 10-2 and miss the playoffs? We got some more Josh Pate clickbait, most likely, and big game coming up tomorrow as USC faces the Northwestern Wildcats. What they come to town hoping to knock off USC in a big upset. All those thoughts, plus your comments, your calls coming up next. Welcome, you guys, to another episode of the Conquest Call-In Show here on the LAFB Network. I'm here with Jamal an hour or so. So give us a call, number 888-997-4539. Call in, weigh in on these topics. We're going to talk for a few minutes really quickly before we get into this, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on many things. But before we get rolling, Jamal, you've been traveling a lot. We had to move it to Thursday.
Yeah.
How are you doing? And then what are your initial thoughts basically on this thought that maybe USC could go undefeated and possibly miss the playoffs?
Hey, Tim. No, great to see you as always. And, a little bit of a busy week with the travels and, always so grateful to jump on with you. Always so much fun. Let's get into it, Tim. I mean, interesting week here this week, obviously with game tomorrow night. So I'm sure we'll get some callers thinking about that. But to your earlier point, look, I mean, 10-2 still very much in the cards here. You got a winnable game tomorrow, home for Northwestern. Next week, home for Iowa. That's more of an effort game, but you have more talent. The big one at Eugene and then back home for UCLA. So it's really that anchor game at Eugene is going to really determine so many things. But to your point, Tim, I don't see a path where USC goes 10-2 and misses the playoff. Just simply put, 10-2 would imply an 8-1 finish in the Big Ten, and it would also imply having the tiebreak over Oregon. So you're talking about a team that's going to finish no worse than third in the Big Ten. And so there's also a very interesting scenario where, let's say Michigan runs the table and upsets Ohio State. Ohio State is very much susceptible to Michigan being in their head. Maybe Indiana throws in a clunker. You got four teams at 8-1. I think there's a greater likelihood of USC getting in the Big Ten championship game at 10-2 than there is of USC missing the playoff, because they're going to finish no worse than third in that scenario with an opportunity to be even higher. So SC very much controls their own destiny here in my mind moving forward.
Well, I'm there are some question marks. Here's some things that we do have to kind of think about. One of those situations might be, so for instance, just take a look at the situation. I agree with you on all of that. Let me just pull this up really quick. So here we are. We see it, right? We know that the new situation is that the top five, the highest 5 ranked conference winners are in. So those are in,
right?
And it looks like Memphis at this point probably is going to be that group of five.
Group of 5
that's going to get in,
right?
Then you have probably the winner of Ohio State. Whoever comes out unscathed between Ohio State and Indiana, because they don't play each other,
right?
But that's going to be interesting. That'll be interesting if they go to the what. But obviously, at the end, they're gonna meet up in the conference championship game if they both win out, which is most likely. And then you have the SEC champ. Then you're gonna have what? The weird one here is BYU, Texas Tech. Just throw me a scenario. Let me just throw this scenario at you.
Yeah.
You have an undefeated BYU, right? Let's say they lose one game, right?
They're playing Texas Tech this week.
They lose to Texas Tech, but then they get the rubber match,
right, in the title game.
In the title game. Then you get into a weird situation where you have the 5. Plus, you got to figure that, I mean, let's face it, something crazy happens. Alabama, Georgia, and probably Ole Miss. Those 3 right there, they're getting in from the SEC, right? So SEC's play for 7 spots.
Yeah.
So there's those 3.
Yep.
And then you're gonna have you could possibly have the in that scenario you could have the BYU and Texas Tech where they have that rubber match and they're both at that same spot at 8 would it be 11-1 each, and then one of them would have one would be the 12-1, and the other one would have a loss as well. They both be at 12-1, right? Under that scenario I gave you.
Yep.
So they split it, and then Notre Dame's most likely going to win out, which is rough. Texas, no way they're going on skates. Texas is going to drop a game at some point. They got some rough games ahead of them. But then Oklahoma is sitting kind of pretty where they are right now. Even with the 7-2, if they win out, then you got them to worry about. That leaves it down to, are they going to? It's a bubble thing. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Sure.
It plays out the way. Quite frankly, it's quite likely that could happen because BYU is going to Texas Tech, right? They're at Texas Tech. So they drop that game, and then BYU gets the rubber match. I don't know. I mean, in that situation, it could be pretty rough for USC. I don't know. I don't see it happening, but I do see a world in the CFP. Listen, I'm old enough to watch what happened to SC in 2003.
Yep.
8. The way that USC does not get the good side of the coin on these things. But love to hear what you guys think in the chat. Is it likely? Is it likely USC wins all the way out? SC's got some tough sledding even to get there, you guys, at 10-2. But
yeah, no, Tim, it's an interesting point. Like, you've got it based on ranking, which is a really nice lens to look at it. And then there's another lens, right? Where if we just look at it from kind of conference perspective. And I think if we look at right now, you got to believe the SEC, here's where it gets kind of interesting, but you got to believe right now the SEC's feeling really good about 4 teams, right? A&M, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss. You feel like the SEC's got 4. Now, to your point, right, you got the SEC champion automatic, Big Ten champion automatic, Big 12 champ automatic, ACC champ automatic. Notre Dame looks like they're going to get in as an independent. You got a group of 5. And so what you're saying here is, let's say the SEC gets those 4 in, and to your point, the Big 12 gets 2 in with BYU and Texas Tech. That's 6. You got Ohio State and Indiana are locks right now in the Big 10. That's 8. You got the Memphis group of 5 situation. That's 9. Notre Dame is 10. ACC champion is 11. So now you're sitting there and saying, do you want a 5th SEC team, or do you want a 3rd Big 10 team? And you just got to believe. Now, again, to your point, Tim, we both lived through 2003 and the madness of that, where 1 + 1 literally did not equal 2. But you have to sort of believe that with conventional wisdom here, given the perception of the Big Ten, given the number of teams in the Big Ten, given the pedigree of the Big Ten, is a model that has the same number of Big Ten teams as Big 12 teams in the playoff, like, sustainable? You have to believe the Big Ten would get a 3rd team in. I think where it gets gnarly, potentially, to your point, BYU, Texas Tech, some close games, right? BYU loses a really close game to Texas Tech, and then they play the rubber match, and it's a close game, and they're both there. Is there a world where Texas or an Oklahoma gets hot, or a world where somebody like a Vanderbilt jumps back into it, and then you're sitting there at that 5th SEC
for that 5th
team
spot,
right? So that's where it gets interesting. I think it's very, very unlikely. The thing that really would hurt USC in a scenario like this is if Oregon dropped another game that wasn't the SC game. I think that's the only scenario that I see where it would really hurt USC. So as SC fans, we actually got to be cheering for Oregon the rest of the way outside of that SC game, because Oregon's got to stay in that 9-10 spot. If Oregon drops a game that they're not supposed to, and falls outside that 15, 16, 17 spot, then guess what? Even a win for SC sitting at 19 right now doesn't hold a lot of weight. Now, is this likely to happen? No, I still believe it's very, very unlikely that the SC team at 10-2 doesn't get in. But there is, to your point, Tim, there's an interesting world here where if Oregon drops another game, that win doesn't seem as big, and Vanderbilt or Oklahoma get on a heater and they sort of climb into the top 10, top 8, and now you got a situation where you got 5 from the SEC, 2 from the Big 10, 2 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC, 1 Notre Dame, 1 group of 5, and that could be your 12. Again, I think it's very unlikely, but that it's plausible, to your point.
Yeah, it just gets really tight because that USC, like you said, that that's going to be that's really you'll be USC's premium win, because the other opportunities USC had, just letting Notre Dame get away. I mean, lead in the third quarter, it starts raining, and then SC kind of just falls apart. Give up that big kick return. Just a lot went wrong in that game on both sides. I mean, it's not like that Notre Dame played flawless. They absolutely left the door open for USC to go ahead and steal one there. SC didn't do that. Losing, the defense letting Illinois go right down the field, kick that field goal. I mean, we're not having these conversations if USC really just took care of business on the field. I mean, honestly, the fact that we're squeaking this one out, even if we go up to Autzen and win the game, I don't know. I looked at here really quick though. Vanderbilt is the one I'm worried about,
right? Because
Vanderbilt's been kind of the darling all year. That loss to Texas isn't great, isn't good, but I mean, they play Auburn, which is in shambles, obviously losing, rudderless ship in Auburn Tigers. Kentucky's horrible. Tennessee just dropped the game. Tennessee's very doable. So the only chance really is Tennessee to stop, and that's gonna be a big time rivalry. Going into that game, and for a fact. Now the thing is, that is at Neyland Stadium. So I mean, that's gonna be a tough thing. But I'm just saying, I'm saying that USC, if there's a way to leave USC out, I mean, I can see it happening. Now, one thing USC does have on its side is the dollars. I mean, the dollar signs, marquee brand. Of all the names we just named, BYU, everyone kind of laughs at BYU, but BYU's got a pretty good national following as well.
Huge. Given the culture. Yeah.
I just don't think that, a 2-loss USC playing in the Big Ten, like you said, finishing third in the Big Ten is going to be left out over. I don't care how well you do it in the Big 12. It's just apples and oranges.
Totally.
So, we have our first call. Do you want to grab that? We'll come back to the conversation in a little bit.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Maybe this VIP wants to weigh in on things. Hi, caller. I'll pretend like I don't know who you are. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, we just lost him.
Tim, the other one, the other two that are a little interesting, right, is, I mean, the storylines, you sort of gotta find it really fascinating here. One is, Utah sitting there at that third Big 12 team as well. Now they got to play these other two, so I'm less worried about them. But then it's also interesting in terms of like Virginia, Louisville, right? I mean, in terms of ACC, and now that Miami's dropped that second game, man, that ACC feels wide open. I mean, can you imagine a couple scenarios here? Let's look at it the other way. Can you imagine some dream first round scenarios for SC if they made the playoff? Can you imagine Miller Moss playing USC in the first round of the college football playoff? Can you imagine Oklahoma playing USC in the first round? I mean, there's some, there's some delicious matchups here potentially, and you can tell that the ratings and the matchups and the storyline, it's going to play a role. This is a subjective system. You're talking about humans. It's a committee. They're going to get in the room. They're going to talk. They're going to get swayed by one another. This is a subjective system, for better or for worse. It's flawed for its subjectivity, but also when you don't have any other way of going from 130 plus teams down to 12, it is what it is. And I think between the dollars with USC, between the potential first round matchups, but also I'm really just hanging my hat, Tim, on the Big Ten name and pedigree and media rights deal. I mean, the Big Ten would go berserk if they only sent 2 to the playoff. I mean, at that point, you're just like, what is going on here in terms of this conference? That a conference like the Big 12 would have the same amount of teams in the playoff as the Big Ten. Man, that would be a really tough pill to swallow if you're the Big Ten commissioner. So that's where I see this very unlikely. But to your point, it's bunched up in a significant way.
Couple things. A committee can be rigged. If you have dozens of voters, that's a little bit harder, right, to get everyone to collude. But if you got a couple committee members, and we know this is, I'm sorry, can you remind me who's got the rights to the playoffs again? Can you remind me?
Yeah.
Is it that 4-letter word, isn't it?
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yeah, I think it's that 4-letter word, ESPN, that has the rights to this thing. And I'm telling you, USC was number one in the, so we're talking back to 2003 again. USC's number one in both polls.
Yeah.
Never in the history of college football has someone been number one in both polls, win their bowl game, and not been the national champion.
Right.
And that 2003 team was just absolutely sick. Mike Williams was just, I can't even get into it. And to think that, they could rig that with a computer, you could get a couple guys in there, and it could, I don't know, it could get funny. So USC, if you don't get in, you go 10-2, you don't get in. I'm just going to point at Illinois. I'm going to point at the fourth quarter in Notre Dame, where just the offense just fell completely asleep. But we have our caller back. Sorry about that, caller. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Like, I don't know.
What's going on, boy? What's going on, boys? Fight on from the East Coast. LV Live here. Madman, what's going on?
LV, great to see you. Great to hear you.
Tim, what's going on, buddy? Breakdown here, man. I think that the reality is that SC's got to win out. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, you see the SEC teams there, like a team like Vanderbilt, teams like Oklahoma, and of course Texas. All them teams are sitting at 7-2. Texas Tech 7-1. So that's just where they are, right? So, they're in a great position, man. I mean, look, just win games. I mean, that's really it. But I do think that the Big Ten can get 4 teams in, and here's the scenario I'm giving you guys. If SC beats Oregon, they went out and they go 10-2. Oregon also wins out, but their only loss is SC. They can be 10-2. Let's say Michigan beats Ohio State. In that game, they win 5 in a row, and Ohio State is now, 11-1. Now they have to play Indiana in the championship in the Big Ten. They beat Indiana. So now there's a possibility where you can get 4 Big Ten teams in, SC being 10-2, Oregon being 10-2, Ohio State 11-1, Indiana 11-1. I mean, there's a really true big possibility with those 4 teams, and of course, the names attached to it, right? USC, Ohio State. I mean, the names by themselves are going to get them in. So I think that's a possibility. What say you, boys?
That's a great point about Michigan. I mean, those home games, they like to see them, and you're right. If Michigan goes on a heater and runs it out and a win. That's what I'm saying for USC and for Michigan. You look at them at 19-21, but if USC goes up to Autzen and has a win, that catapults them into a whole different category. I think that BYU and Texas Tech, I don't care what you guys do, you're not going to have a win like that. That's one. And then the other one's going to be Michigan, who has a loss now. Granted, it's a lopsided loss to USC, but if USC runs out like they said, we hope they do in this scenario, then yeah, Michigan's losses, are going to be to Indiana and USC, both playoff teams. Am I correct on that? Is that right? So yeah, I mean, LV, you got points there. So this thing could play out weird all the way around.
No, LV, you're spot on there. And there's clearly a world where the Big Ten could get 4. There's even a world where the Big Ten could get 5. In your scenario, I agree with everything you said with one caveat. If those games play out exactly the way that you describe, I completely agree. The Big Ten is going to get 4, but I would say that Oregon would be left out in that scenario and Michigan would be in. Because if you look at it in that scenario, Michigan would have beaten Ohio State. And you look, what's Oregon's marquee win then, right? Because if they lost to Indiana, they didn't play Ohio State, what's their marquee win? So in that scenario, I'm totally with you. Big Ten gets 4, but it would be Oregon out, Michigan in.
Agreed, Madman. Absolutely, because they're gonna. I love that you mentioned that, because I totally forgot about Michigan's record. They would be 10-2 also. Because now they're gonna listen. Everybody knows the playoffs. Yes, they like the Cinderellas, but they want the big names. They know, the fans are going to travel. So Michigan's going to bring a big crowd. Ohio State, and of course USC, just the name being who they are, right? So they're gonna leapfrog a team like BYU. They're gonna leapfrog a team like Texas Tech. I mean, it might be a situation of kind of what happened to Florida State, right? You might have situations like that because the name itself is what's going to carry. It's very, very hard to give a team like BYU that has a better record or has a similar record to Michigan. It might be a conference champ, but Michigan being 10-2, beating Ohio State and USC, going on a run, Lincoln, Riley. I mean, it's just think of what the dollars and cents that, these guys are. That's where it comes back to you, Tim, where you state that, you can kind of see some messing around with computers going on that they would do, because that's all they're going to think about is those dollars and cents. What say you boys?
That's what it would come down to. But you have to ask yourself, what's a bigger draw? Because the one thing about USC is, I mean, so outside of probably like Utah, right? Who really cares about BYU? Sorry, BYU. But I mean, whereas with USC, I mean, run down the line. Madman, you brought up a couple of different scenarios. SC Ohio State, SC played those 2 you said are classic. Oklahoma, they've been wanting to get that game. Can you imagine if they can get USC Oklahoma in the playoffs? I think that alone will get USC into the playoffs if it comes down to a tiebreaker. So I mean, yeah, the money is going to be where it's at. We got to worry about. I'm telling you guys, it's ESPN. I'm surprised they're not going to try to get like 10 SEC teams into the playoffs, because committees. I'm just saying, I don't want to keep the tinfoil off my head, but you can rig a committee. The smaller the amount of the selectors,
Tim,
the more likely you can pick what you want.
No, Tim, I agree. I do agree with you rigging it. I understand, but the names itself, Tim, it's a dollar chase, man. That's what these guys want, right? And I mean, it's just a name.
Biggest dollars USC.
Michigan in there instead of a they're going to want Michigan in there instead of a Vanderbilt. They're going to want USC in there instead of a Texas Tech. I mean, that's just what it is. I get SEC. I understand that. But they're outside of, you think Bama, right? Florida, and, of course, a couple of other schools, Georgia, right? There's no other bigger name than Michigan, Ohio State, and USC. I mean, they're going to want to see those teams, and that's going to bring eyes to the playoffs, and that's what they want. But before that, let me ask you guys a question before I get up out of here. Guys, help me understand. Is this whole Lincoln Riley stuff, is Josh Pate just blowing smoke? Like, what is going on? Why did he do this? Why is he dropping bombs like this? Just sending shockwaves through the college football world.
Why?
Madman, you're out there as well. Why? Listen, I'm just throwing it out there. Why would Lincoln leave? Where would he go to start over fresh?
Yep.
He's got the number one class coming in. He's got everything where he wants it. Why would he leave? And if he was to go, where would he go that's better than sunny California and our trophy case? I'm out of here. Listen, great show, boys. Keep on going. Let's get ready for a big win tomorrow. I'm out of here from the East Coast. Fight on, boys. Take care.
Fight on, LV.
Fight on, LV. Always a pleasure.
I checked out LV's channel last night. You guys, he's got his own YouTube channel. So if you're a New York Knicks fan or just an NBA fan, go check him out. If you're an NFL fan, or better yet, if you're a Giants fan, go check out his channel. LV is just amazing. He supported me and whatever I've done since I started doing this. Just a great guy, knows his sports, very entertaining. You guys heard it right there. So go check out his channel. I don't know what you're doing. Getting back to Clickbait State, right? I'll tell you that Josh Pate is just like everybody else in this business. He wants some people to click and watch his show. He's doing very well. There's a reason why he does very well. He hits the hot trigger numbers. You know what's a big trigger name in this country? Lincoln Riley and USC, and hoping you could take down Lincoln Riley and USC. Like you said, number one recruiting class. Finally got our NIL rolling. Chad Bowden has us just positioned to be a juggernaut in recruiting. The coaching staff that he has together here. A lot of those guys, remember, these guys have families. They came here. They've been here this is their 4th year. A lot of young families. If you look at those coaches, they got a lot of young kids. They're not going to want to uproot their kids and take them to Gainesville. Hey, by the way, so do you want to go from the South Bay to Gainesville? I don't know. I'm staying with the South Bay. I'm pretty sure myself. The new football facility, the all new football only facility. And then as far as LSU is concerned, he already had that job if he wanted it. He didn't want it. He doesn't want those headaches. I think he realizes, I think Lincoln Riley meant what he said. I think it sounded really great when he said it about the Mecca football. He said, this is going to be, everyone jumps on. He's saying that USC is the Mecca football. He never said is. It wasn't a present moment. He said he wants to make it. It's going to be, again, the Mecca of college football. Because for all the reasons I named, plus location, recruiting, and let's face it, our weather. You guys watch the weather around the country And then watch tomorrow no one's going to have the weather we have at 6:00 night kickoff. It's going to be like close to 68 degrees, 0 chance of rain, I think. And you're not going to get that pretty much anywhere else. Definitely in the Big Ten. That's for sure.
No, for sure, Tim. Pate's an interesting guy, right? I mean, he's not Feinbaum for sure. Like that's a totally different personality, but it is very interesting that Pate every couple of months has some take on USC. And oftentimes it's very positive. He's like, I ran my simulation, SC's going to win this game, or SC's the sleeping giant. And now he's, talking about Lincoln Riley. Tim, I'm not going to repeat the reasons there. I think it's spot on. Football Center, that's coming up. You got the number 1 recruiting class. Look, it's a $70 million buyout. Like you gotta be sort of, really, really loco in the head to walk away from $70 million here with that contract. So you got that situation. You got an interim president at USC who's not going to make any sort of move with the football coach from an interim capacity. So Lincoln Riley's not going anywhere. I think this is just a scenario where you have such an open market this year of big-time jobs. I mean, think about the big-time. I mean, you got LSU, you got Florida, you got Penn State. I'm shocked that Wisconsin didn't open up. They announced that Fickell's going to come back for one more year. I mean, that was shocking to me. I believe Florida State job is going to get open. I think Norvell's not going to make it beyond this year. So you got so many big jobs. And, there's only so many candidates right now to go around. And I think Pate just, played the Lincoln Riley card just to be different and just to get the eyeballs. But they're very, very far-fetched. The only scenario, like, Tim, we're talking about these sliver of scenarios. To me, I mean, again, it's $70 million. It's so unlikely. But just for the sake of conversation, if something were to happen this season where there was a bit of a collapse, like let's say you lose the Oregon game, you lose the Iowa game, and maybe you lose the bowl game, and fan sentiment becomes so negative that after 3 straight consecutive seasons that were mediocre, hey, maybe he would say, I just need sort of a change for my brand to go elsewhere. But that's just so far-fetched. And it's not rooted really in logic because of the money, because of the recruiting class, because of the facilities that are coming up. So I think Pate just, going for those eyeballs like we talked about it.
And if he were to go on that losing, like you said, he would also have to be significant enough that he would lose that recruiting class. And then are you really a hot candidate if you have 3 straight seasons where you went 500-ish? Probably not. Definitely not worth it for any team to buy out that buyout. Now it'd be better for Riley because he's not getting run, you guys. Can we agree that anything above 500, he's not going to get fired? Or do you think that you think 7-6 is going to get him fired this year?
See,
I don't see it.
I don't think he's going to get fired.
So then he'd write it out.
Situation, I don't think the administration will fire him this year, just with all the situation. But I will say,
the president,
like you and I talked about, look, 7-5 was the absolute floor of this season in the regular season, given the schedule. So, 9-3 is a fair record in terms of you're not ecstatic, but you're not that upset, and that gets you moving forward. 8-4 feels like a failure of a season, right? Like we talked about. It just feels super, super disappointing. But he's not going anywhere for that regard. I'm going to give you the dark horse, though. If we were to go anywhere this year, next year, what have you, it's not going to be for Florida. It's not going to be for LSU. The one job I could see him take is Texas Tech. And I think that, with the war chest that they have now, back in the Big 12, clearer path to the playoff, his admiration for Leach, his mentor, that would be sentimentally to me the one job he would take. I'm not saying he's going to go take that job now or whatnot, but there's a world downstream that could be a possibility. They got the war chest now, clear path to the playoff every year, big time NIL, weaker conference. You get back to being offensive Lincoln Riley, not having to worry about as physical defenses. That would be the one job if that opened or there was interest. If he doesn't have it completely humming at SC in another year or so, where you go, interesting. That would be the one job.
Sorry, I got you. I just had a little lag spike there. Yeah, I mean, I see that's a step backwards going to the Big 12. The Big 12, I mean, West Texas, that down the road, I agree with you. Again, when I was talking about the coaches, I was talking about Lincoln Riley too. He's got 2 young daughters, family. They've got a beautiful house here. He's not getting fired here. It's short of catastrophic. He's going to have next year to prove himself. Riley's an alpha. He's not going to want to admit. That would be admitting defeat. And I don't see in that man. Everyone can say what they want about Lincoln Riley, but that guy's not the kind of guy who's going to run from. He's not going to give up. So he's not getting fired. He's not going. He's really just. There's not a scenario where Lincoln Riley is going anywhere. So that's, to me, it's just
certainly not this year. Certainly not this year. No way.
I mean, there's people out there, you know, in the fan base. And by the way, someone told me this. I didn't know this, but someone has told me that Josh Pate's favorite team is Georgia. We know that, right? You know, second favorite team. I didn't know this.
I don't.
He's a Duck fan, dude. So there you go.
There you go.
By the way, thank you to Slap Happy, Robert. Thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. We're not going to suck next 2 weeks. I think that USC is going to have a hell. We'll talk about Northwestern first, but next week I really want to talk about Iowa. It doesn't get much easier for these. You know, we can talk about Iowa as well. These passing defenses that USC is going to be facing, some of the better passing defenses, 3 in a row. Really, you look at Oregon. You look at Iowa, you know, after Northwestern. Northwestern's not bad. They're like 38th, I think, pass against opponent passing efficiency.
Yeah.
They're like 38th in the country. So these are 3 to give Jaden all he could take. I hope our wide receivers are back. We got another call that we got to get to. Sorry, call. I know you've been waiting a while. Let's grab this one really quick. But before we do, you guys, we're here for a half hour. Well, we've already been about a half hour. You know, a little bit longer. Let's get some. If you guys are enjoying the show, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys don't already subscribe. We are speaking about being a heater. Man, we are on a heater when it comes to subscriptions. You guys.
No question.
Really appreciate you guys are helping the channel grow. It's blowing up. Please hit that like button, and who knows how long we'll stay on tonight if we get a bunch of likes. What do you think, Jamal?
We'll stay on. We'll stay on till 3 a.m, Tim, if we have to.
I don't know about that. Hey, hi caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good evening, Tim. It's your buddy Aiden from London, Ohio. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, I'm going to let you know I'm not here to do any BS. I'm going to say this simply. USC is winning against Nebraska. Simple as that. Lincoln Riley has a great team, and I'm being honest with this. This is no BS coming from me. And you're probably shocked, but don't be shocked. I'm just going to let you know that, Prangley. And Lincoln Riley has
we're like that, huh? All right, I like that.
Very good head coach. He has gained my respect as a great head coach at USC. Do I see USC possibly going 9-3? Yes, I do see the possibility they could win against. They could have a chance of beating Oregon. They could upset Iowa, and I believe they could beat you. Well,
can I pause you? Can I pause you really quick? It's not going to be an upset of Iowa, but go ahead. Go ahead.
We can agree to disagree, but I want to know your takes on what I told you.
Lincoln Riley has a path to the playoffs. Not many teams have that. Lincoln Riley's in the top 20. Not many teams, obviously. You know, it's over 100 teams like to be in that position. Lincoln Riley has the #1 recruiting class in the country. He's amassed a great staff. I got to, you know, hopefully hope they can get the pieces together over the next couple of years to go on him. I think you were talking about USC getting to playoffs, but I don't think anyone here really thinks that USC has a team right now to say that there's an odds-on win to win a national championship. But USC could get to the playoffs and be competitive. I think they're probably a year or two away from that, but you know, his recruiting class is getting him there. Your comments about maybe this, maybe that, you're right. The record, I don't know. There's some tough games coming up. But as far as my faith in Lincoln Riley, my thoughts on the fact that Iowa's going to be a tough out, but USC will be favored in that game. I'm not sure what else I can clear up there. Anything else you can think of, Jamal, clear up from what he said?
I mean, I think SC is going to be a clear favorite in 3 of these next 4 games between Northwestern at home, Iowa at home, UCLA at home. The only game that they're going to be an underdog is going to be Oregon. So logic would say that they're going to finish 9-3, you know, if the law of averages holds, and 7-2 in the Big Ten, and probably just out of the college football playoff, but hopefully with enough momentum going into next year. So, yeah, Tim, I agree with you.
Okay, listen, awesome.
I personally, I agree with Jamal and Tim. I wanted to also come on here and ask you about something. I want to bury our rivalry and bury it tonight, and I want to.
We got a rivalry
water on the bridge.
Jamal, I got a rivalry.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Cut all the BS. Cut all the BS out and shake hands. Well, virtually shake hands because I can't shake your hand physically. But bury the hatchet, water underneath the bridge, because anytime I call on, I'm not going to give you the BS, and I promise you that, Tim Prangley. So I'm putting my hand out there to say, you got no trouble from me, and you know what? You're my respect.
All right, man. I don't know why I should be mad at you. I don't really know why I should be mad at you, but I will accept your apology. And I can't wait. I can't wait for us to have some more conversations. Hey, listen, buddy. Listen.
Tim Prangley, I was one of your biggest haters for a long time.
Oh,
for a long time.
Get in line, man. I got lots of those guys. Don't worry about it.
Your show.
Yeah.
Well, listen. I give you a lot of crap.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just say this publicly. I felt bad afterwards.
All right.
And I wanted to come on, bury the hatchet, and say, you know what? This guy isn't that bad. This guy is actually spitting the facts at USC.
All right.
Guy knows what he's talking about.
Hey, listen, great call. And you know what? I don't think this. If I don't remember, I could not have been too mad at you. And I appreciate you coming here if you said some things. But listen, when you do this in front of like thousands of people, there's gonna seem some people that just think I'm an idiot, don't like me, and that's totally because part of this whole thing. And so don't worry about it. If you disagree with me, I'm not gonna get mad at you. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I hope you have a great night, and I hope you call in again. All right. Great call, man.
There we go.
All right, we got to move on though, because I mean, people don't want to talk. We'll talk about us some other time. All right. How about that? Got a couple calls stacking up.
Let's go, Prangley. Come on. Let's go. Next call.
I didn't know we were like that. Me and that guy, he's calling me by my last name. This is great. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Marco, calling from LA.
Marco from LA. Marco, can you talk into your phone a little more? You're kind of low. I've got everything as high as I can get the levels.
Sir. Marcos from LA.
Marcos, there you go.
Is that better?
Perfect. All right, Marcos from LA. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, lots of thoughts, man. Thanks for having me back on. I'll say this, man. I really like this podcast. I've been on other ones, such as like a USC Jays podcast. The guy kicks me off every time because I ether him. Yeah, man. Look, here's my thoughts. Number one, I hope Riley goes. I wish somebody would buy the guy out. And I want your opinions on this, but I have a hard time understanding why we have fans that still support him as our coach or even want him as our coach. Because the statistics would tell you that if he were to ever turn this program around, it would be an anomaly as to what successful coaching looks like. If you look at Sark at Texas, Kiffin at Ole Miss, Saban, Pete Carroll, Chris Peterson, Urban Meyer, year two of all of their coaching tenures was a progression upwards. It means it was a steep breakout from their first year. And then they went on to win 10 wins consistently, if not a national championship. Lincoln Riley would be the only coach among those coaches who has went on a consistent downtrend since their first year with the new program. It would be an anomaly for him to make a change. And if people are expecting that this recruiting class is somehow going to make a difference, well, then you're expecting these guys to be immediate contributors, which is unlikely. So then we're going to say he gets a shot next year, which our schedule is brutal. We're going to get demolished next year in a lot of games. We're going to be young if we're playing freshmen. We're not going to look that good, I anticipate. Then you're saying, okay, if they're going to be contributors in their sophomore years, you're basically saying into their junior year. So we want 3 more years of this to see if this pans out. That's ridiculous to me, man. I don't understand it. On top of that,
wait, Marcos, hey, Marcos, hang on a minute. You're not going anywhere. Just let us chime in here, just a little bit. First off,
let's do it.
Which one of those guys that you named followed? This is my joke I had for Jamal a couple weeks ago. Which one of those guys also followed Clay Helton as he pancaked this program, and the ADs who were not qualified to run an athletic department pancaked this football program into the state that it was when Lincoln Riley got here? So not all things are equal. Wait, hold on, Marcos. You're gonna get your minute. Remember, we gotta go back to these turn rules, right? Jamal's gonna get a shot in a second. Also, I would say to you, I don't think that it's been on a downward trajectory. What I'm watching this year is nothing like I saw in 2023. I think almost any objective person would agree with that one. The offensive line was an absolute sieve. We had, I'm not going into the defense, was a complete mess. Last year, we were still figuring out things last year, but it got better. And this year is better than that. So I would honestly say to you that even though we had Caleb Williams, the trajectory has not, it took a huge nosedive after Caleb and that offensive line went, right? And then remember, people forget this as well. It wasn't all about Caleb. You know, on that team, you had Jordan Addison, you had Tuli Pelotu, you had Mekhi Blackman, you had studs, like some serious NFL studs talent-wise on that team. You had Dye, right, as your running back. So I mean, there's a reason why that team came in. And you know what's weird, Jamal? You know what, Marcos and Jamal? What's kind of weird is we always hear about 2023 and 2024. But no one really ever talks about the job that Riley did in 2022. He came into a team that was a total dumpster fire and was a hamstring away from going to the playoffs, Jamal. So do you agree with his points about Riley and about the fact that we're on a downward trajectory?
No, I don't think it's a downward trajectory by Marcos by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I think you have a right to be sort of perplexed a little bit of, hey, you know, this should probably have been happening kind of sooner in terms of the upward trajectory. So I think that's a fair point. I've said this a lot, you know, since 2014 of 17 coaches that have won the national championship played for the national championship within their first 2 years, which is similar to what you were saying. So many times when it happens very, very quickly. When you have someone that really sort of comes in and knows exactly what they're doing. So there's been some bumps in the road with Riley for sure. But I think the true test is going to be, you know, how does this season finish out? And then what does 2026 look like? And then that's going to be 5 years on the job. And then that's a fair amount of time to then be able to make an assessment. If he can make it to the playoff this year or next year, I think you're feeling really good about the future. If fall short this year and next year, to your point, maybe a step back, then you have some more serious conversations to sort of go through. But if you can make a step this year and then build upon that next year, and now that number one recruiting class is more mature going into year two for them, then you know, obviously the momentum is building. So I wouldn't go as harsh as perhaps your point of view on Riley right now. At the same time, it's not a bed of roses. I think we're still in that TBD phase here with Riley, and I think it's fair to sort of expect a playoff berth by next year. And then if you don't get that, then it's fair to sort of look at things holistically and say, hey, you know, where are we going?
One more thing for Marcus, I want to get your reply to this, but one more thing I'll also say is all the guys you just named, which one of them started coaching in this era? It's a different ball game. And as much as you want to say that, well, you know what, that he should get it done faster, I will remind you guys again what a mess and the policy here at USC was about getting players in the portal. They would not give guys NIL deals until they got on campus. That was not equal playing field with the Oregons, with the Tennessees, you know, with the other programs around the country. So was it USC's fault? Yes. Should Riley have had more say? Probably. He should have flexed his muscle. Said, look, you can pay me $100,000. We need to change this thing now. USC's whole NIL, the money was supposedly there. It's just the way they were running it was too by the book, and that's what led to too many failures as far as the high school recruiting. That, you know, Grinch, high school recruiting, we all know those are the two things everyone points to about why we are where we are now, why it took so long. Well, right now we have Chad Bowden. I think Riley has, you know, seen the light on all those things, and those complaints are gone unless you have new ones.
I know it all sounds good when you say it, but I try to remove emotion out of anything I say, and I want to talk facts and logic and stats.
Sure.
So to what you said, it sounds good, and
those are facts.
USC fan, however,
those are facts. You want to talk facts?
Well, the facts are we should. I will. I love to talk facts. We should not have been.
We just did.
Minnesota, Maryland, facts. Sorry. No, it doesn't. And we don't need the best players out of the NIL portal to beat Minnesota and Maryland. That's
agreed.
Feasible.
Totally agree.
Utah, we had far better talent every time they dominated us. Since Riley's been here, we're way more talented than Utah on paper.
Wait, stop. Hey, listen, hold on. If we're gonna talk facts, we gotta talk facts. When did Utah dominate USC? Go ahead.
I mean, did Riley ever beat Utah?
No, I didn't say that. You said Utah dominated USC. And Lincoln Riley.
When Riley doesn't beat Utah his entire tenure here, that's called domination. Those are facts. I mean, what do you call it? Okay, since Utah.
So is the fact that Caleb Williams got injured in that game, and we were without who? Weren't we without we were without was it Voorhees in that game, and then our center went down. I mean, look, facts are facts. You know, these aren't emotions. I'm telling you. I will say to you that should USC have lost the way it did the last couple of years? No. Great point about Maryland. You're not gonna hear anyone around here give USC and Lincoln Riley a pass for Maryland. I will say that Minnesota disaster was some of the weirdest officiating of all time when they rewrote the. Hey, buddy, how this works is like we don't talk over each other. I'll let you go, but you got to stop talking over me. So the issue is you know USC has lost. Thank you. USC has lost some games that absolutely had no right losing. I don't. Jamal, you gonna argue that? I'm not gonna argue that.
Nope.
What I'm saying to you is, you said that USC is on a downward trajectory. And I would say to you that that's incorrect. What we're seeing on the field is getting better every year. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me throw these stats at you. Coach Meyer, first year at Florida, 9-3, second year 13-1. Coach Pete Carroll, USC, 6-6, second year 11-2. Went on to do 12-1, 13-0. Freeman, Notre Dame, 9-4, 10-3, 13-2. Smart, Georgia, 8-5, 13-2. I can go on with a bunch of coaches. Riley, 13-3, great. 8-5, 7-6, and he's now 6-2. That's called a downward trajectory. That's a fact. Now, in terms of how we look this year, my eyes don't deceive me, bro. We don't look good out there.
All right. Anything else you got for us? Marcos, anything else you got for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the facts. I mean, just tell me this.
You just said USC doesn't look good. You just said, hold on, Marcos. You just said USC doesn't look good out there. That's not a fact. That's your opinion. Go ahead.
Great. And okay, so our first game let's say the first two games, we gave up far too many critical first downs on the ground to Georgia Southern or Georgia State or whatever, and Missouri State. Outside of those games, Miami has regressed the moment we got into like the brunt of our schedule. Our defense didn't look good against Illinois. We took care of Michigan, which I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't think Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. They're not that good. We went on to lose to Notre Dame. We didn't look good out there. I've been saying that Maiava's not a great quarterback, and I know he's a USC quarterback. That doesn't mean I have to blow smoke. Okay, I've been saying I didn't see anything special out there. We didn't look good against Notre Dame. We didn't look good against Nebraska. When did we look good? Okay, outside, let's say Michigan, when have we put on a complete performance? And tell me where we look good in your opinion.
Marcos,
tell me.
Marcos, you asked me a question.
Able to have a footprint.
Marcos, you asked me a question.
Yes.
I'm going to answer that for you. And Jamal, I want you to hop in wherever you want and agree with whoever you want on this. I'm not saying a lot of what you're saying isn't accurate. The only issues I'm having with your conversation, and neither one of us, I'm not saying mine's a fact, it's my opinion, and you can't say your fact is a fact either. If you want to say a fact would be the record under Lincoln Riley in his first 3 years has been going down. That's accurate. Okay.
That's a downward trajectory. Correct.
No, what that is that the record, that is that the record has been going down. If you want to call that the downward trajectory, that's your definition. It's just wins, losses. That is fine. But if we're talking about building a program, if we're talking about what we're seeing on the field, because that's what I was saying, and that's what you replied to, was when I said that there's no arguing the fact that USC's record has gone down. I'm not making that argument. There's no doubt that USC's lost games they shouldn't have lost. I'm not arguing that as well. I'm arguing like you said, on a downward trajectory. I'm saying that USC looks better this year than they did last year, and they certainly look better than they looked in 2023. And the way USC is recruiting and the coaching staff that they have and the momentum USC has right now, and the fact that we're even talking about a path to the playoffs tells us that they're moving in the right direction. Do they win the next 4 games? Who knows? I guess we'll talk at that point. But if you're saying what you're seeing on the field right now is similar to what you saw last year, I'm just good. By the way, these aren't facts. These are both our opinions. I'm going to have to disagree with you. Jamal, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, Marcos, I hear what you're saying. I think a couple of things. One is Maeva has certainly gotten better from last year to this year. Now, statistically, touchdown interception ratio, QBR, just the eye test of his presence in the pocket. Now, you can argue that, look, there was some stat padding going on in the lesser games. He's regressed a bit in Big Ten competition, but even that this regressed version of him in Big Ten competition is still a better version of him than what we saw last year. I think when you look at where this defensive line has been between this year and last year couldn't get to the quarterback at all. I mean, the whole team last year was, can you believe that, Eric Gentry was leading the team in sacks with, by game 9, game 10, and he had missed 5 games and he was still leading the team in sacks last year. This year's defensive line, albeit undisciplined, but, certainly a lot more upside than last year's defensive line. I think the same thing you can say about offensive line depth. This year's team versus last year's team is better. When you look at the receiving room, right? You had a lot of good receivers last year. No true wide receiver one emerged. Makai Lemon looking like the Biletnikoff winner, or certainly a Biletnikoff finalist. And Lane, whenever he's on the field, is just absolutely dynamite. So these are areas where the team has definitely looked better and played better than last year. So holistically, you can't say it's a downward trajectory holistically when you have all of these position groups and all of these scenarios where the team is getting better. Now, to your point, look, I think we all think that 9-3 is a fair record for this team, given the schedule, given where they are. And I think 9-3 feels like you're getting that upward trajectory again and heading with some momentum going into next year. Now, to your point, we lay an egg against Iowa and lose that game like 27-10, or lose the Victory Bell game, or lose, on Friday, and you lose the Oregon game. Then all of a sudden you're thinking about the season very, very differently than where you are right now. Then 2025, frankly, feels record-wise as 2024 and 2023 did, just from an emotional record perspective. So I think it's TBD on where this team nets out, to Tim's point, but there's quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, just overall depth and team culture significantly better than these last 2 years, because we certainly weren't talking about playoff possibilities in November 2024 or November 2023. But to your point, are we there yet? No, not even close. And he is a $10 million a year coach. Patience is going to run out eventually, but this is a step. And if he can build on this step and finish strong and then build another step in 2026, then you're feeling good. But he crashes and burns this year, crashes and burns next year, then, no argument from us. But I think it's really TBD moving forward.
That's a tough one, man. I definitely appreciate you guys at least going back and forth on this. I don't know. I mean, I think 4 years is, I don't know. You will never hear me, Marcos. You will never hear me argue with your opinion. You supported your argument solid. I just pointed out a couple of times where I disagreed with your opinion with my opinion. And there were a couple of times that you did call an opinion a fact. Other than that, I'm not arguing with you. Look, Lincoln Riley is in year 4, and we haven't even sniffed the playoffs. Am I right? Oh, except for the first year. Right. So everyone's going to shout you down and say you're completely wrong. No. I'm just simply saying my opinion is different than yours. You do a great job supporting what you said. I'm not sure. Again, we have our differences. But I just hope you can. I hope you can look at. Sometimes we get this tunnel vision. I'm not saying you are, but a lot of people that and especially see it. You know what it is? I call it message board mania. And what it is when someone goes on the message board and makes a huge bold statement about someone,
they just double down, triple down, won't back down, etc. And I'm just saying, you sound like a big fan, and I'm saying, hold your convictions. I'm not even going to try to tell you that I'm trying to change your opinion. Hold his feet to the fire, what you want. But man, you know what? When they do well, give them some credit, because I'm not sure if that's the one part of your argument that I think I'm missing from you. But look, we just have opinions, and it'd be hard to argue anything you just said. That's it. I think we lost it. I think we lost the call, but yeah, those are Jamal. Those are my favorite calls.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I thought that was really well said. Look, I mean, no one is satisfied at this point.
Some are Jamal. Some people we're doing great. We're going to win the Natty.
Yeah. No, I mean, but yeah, he's $10 million a year coach, and we're asking him to make a top 12 playoff here. I mean, so it's I get that point, but to your point, Tim, you got to celebrate the wins when you can get them, and the improvement. A lot of TBD here in November of this season and going into next season, but if you win, like, was Nebraska you're going to hang up Nebraska in the Louvre? No. But that certainly wasn't a game you're going to remember, but a W is a W, and you stay alive going deeper into November, and that's all you can ask for.
And it would be absurd to talk about injuries, because this part of the season, many programs have injuries. But if we're talking about the offense kind of taking a step back over the past couple of weeks, I mean, come on, we lost our two top running backs in the Michigan game. We were after 3-4 games, we were without Elijah Page. They're shuffling the offensive line around. Jacoby Lane's hurt, guys. He's just hurt. He's not playing like Jacoby plays. And when you do that, and that's why you're seeing the issues that Lemon's having. I mean, they still got to scheme him open, and I agree with Gabe. I do think he's that guy. He's got to find a way just to get open, even if they do bracket him, even if they are doubling him. He's, if he is that guy, he's going to get open. And I believe in both these receivers. I believe in this offense. Let's see what we do. Let's see how healthy this team can get down the stretch, because at the end of the day, we can argue our opinions all we want. It's where he is right is at the end of the season, we're going to look at the record, but let's look at the record at the end of the season and look at how they got there. There are nuances to this stuff. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Caller, you there? Oh, we got you, but I don't hear you. Oh, did I? Hang on one second. Somehow I think I accidentally hit my Bluetooth. That might cause an issue. Hold on one second, caller. This is great. Yeah, I know, but I got to get you into the system. So, and unfortunately, it looks like I cannot. So, give me a minute. Caller, I'm going to drop the link in the chat to StreamYard. I think we're going to be getting out of here pretty quick, but I'll wait for you. I'll give you 5 minutes. If you go into the chat, I'm going to drop the link. And what's your name? Oh, okay. I got you. All right. I will, I'll wait for you to join. Give me 1 second here. Go and put it in for you. Sorry about that. It's a little technical difficulties. Jamal, gotta love that.
Man, hour. All part of it, all part of the fun. It's an interesting point, Tim, about obviously the injuries, and everyone in November has got injuries, and certainly SC has had their share. I think, to your point, to Gabe's point, if Lemon is that guy, you want to see him get open. But I think this is also sort of a growth opportunity for Mayava, because he's so dependent on the chemistry with Lemon that when Lemon gets covered in a significant way, look, 80% of Mayava's throws this year have been first read throws. And so, and having Lemon, be his primary one. And when that's taken away, you're seeing a guy that isn't quite as confident going through progression 2, 3, 4, as he was earlier in the season with the competition getting tougher. So this is also about Mayava kind of taking the next step in his game, and really sort of solidifying that improvement. And I think that's why this is going to be such a compelling November, because these are winnable games. You want to be able to get them, but you also want to kind of close that loop and close that narrative on the Mayava improvement. Because if Mayava regresses in these final 3-4 games, the Mayava at the start of the year versus the Mayava at the end of the year, that improvement may not be there, if he continues to sort of play the way he's been playing. So I think that's why these next few games are just so significant.
Yeah, it's definitely a poise thing with Jaden. Jaden has all the physical tools, is poise. And it's hard to keep that poise when you're shuffling offensive linemen around. Your best left tackle guys covering your blind side is out. So I mean, there are reasons, but you're right. Elijah's back. He's good. King Miller's just been an absolute blessing. He's a solid running back. We need to see this ship get righted. Jacoby hopefully comes back from that shoulder. I mean, shoulders are weird things. It could take a long time. You see it with linemen. You see it with receivers all the time. They need that shoulder, So I mean, if that's an issue, then it's going to be tough sledding. We need someone. And by the way, though, on that note, I'm really happy with Tanook Hines. I think he's turning that corner. You guys might see it in this game. You might see Tanook be that that guy. If Jacoby's not 100, you might see him help to get some of that heat off. I think they're going to give him a bigger role in this game. That's my guess going into the game.
Yep.
But we're going to go with the old fashioned StreamYard. If that's all right.
There we go.
We're gonna go old school. And we're gonna bring StreamYard here because I don't want to lose.
Uh-oh.
I will make sure.
Joe, go for it.
What is your name and where are you calling from?
Is that me now, Tim?
That is you.
All right, it's Joe.
Joe Long, is that you?
Yes, sir.
All right, batten down the hatches. We got an invader in the house, Jamal. We got a dyed in the wool Trojan hunter. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm as you say, I'm Notre Dame fan, but believe me, I know your pain that you guys have been dealing with us because I lived through the Pete Carroll destruction of Notre Dame football. So,
Joe, can I ask you a question? Were you around the 70s too for all that John McKay and and Robinson? This thing's been streaky, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is, really. You go on these gashes of 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row, and then it turns but what I think you guys, I don't know what you guys have been talking about tonight. I'm wondering about what you're thinking with Lincoln Riley. Coming from Oklahoma, he was really, Bob Stoops was the guy there, and then Lincoln Riley learned from him, I guess, but he was an offensive guy. And now Oklahoma's looking tough again because they got Brent Venables. And I think you always get very good players, like flashy kind of offenses, and you're having it this year. I mean, you guys were off to a tremendous start. And I don't see that you should be worried about teams like Northwestern tomorrow or Iowa. I mean, Iowa, you should be able to beat by 2 or 3 touchdowns because you really outclassed them athletically. Like, they're just another. Sorry.
I mean, Iowa is just it's just a different level team when they're not playing at home as well. So I mean, not only is it a travel thing, but when they go west, except for that Holiday Bowl, where again the coldest Holiday Bowl of all time that I went to, where USC got steamrolled when Slovis got hurt, in the beginning of that second half. Iowa doesn't travel very well west. They just don't. Ask Brad Banks. I mean, I know it's a long time going back, but I mean, I think Iowa is a great team. They've got a really solid defense, but I just say 2 things. One, USC plays really good at home. I mean, as bad as USC's been on the road, Joe, USC has been nails at home.
Yeah, and you out elite them too. I mean, when you look at talent across the offense and defense, you guys get better talent. And then now you're getting the number 1 class like this year. That's the only thing that kind of has me trying to give Lincoln Riley another year because, what he's doing with recruiting, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, like I think you guys have the potential to get in at 10-2, assuming other things happen, right? So it has to happen in the Big Ten, and that's where your chances are to be able to get in. Is you have to beat Oregon, and that's no small task. But as far as going back to the head coach, what I'd like to see you guys get is a defensive guy. I think you need a culture too. You don't really have a culture being built. I don't see Lincoln Riley developing a culture there.
Well, Joe,
so I don't know.
Joe, they brought in Tremaine Carroll, like the last name, no relation. But Coach True came in, and that's a attempt for them to build something different. you know, everyone thinks USC needs a defensive guy. There's a lot of offensive guys, you know, that have been very, very successful. You know what I mean? As coaches. I mean, if we talk about even USC coach, you talk about Pete Carroll, but if you go back far enough, you talk about Robinson and McKay, they're both offensive guys.
That's true.
You know, but if to more modern day stuff, you're right. You have defensive coaches, you know, I mean, I guess we'd classify Saban as a defensive coach, Kirby Smart as a defensive coach, but then you have, oh my God, how am I blanking on his name? Clemson.
That's what I was just going to say. I was just going to say his name, like what your opinion is of him coming to USC. What would that be for you?
No. Look, let's let this season play out before we start. We're not replacing our coach, guys. I don't know why we say let's let this season go. If like Jamal says, we go on. We if there's something goes wrong, Jaden goes down, we lose a couple of linemen, SC limps to the finish and drops 2 or 3 more games down the stretch.
Oh,
then we get the talk. But right now, USC is 6-2, most likely going to be 7-2.
Yeah,
going to have a rough game. I think Iowa's going to give us a. You know, they have the possibility to give us a game at home. But I think USC plays great at home. We're not.
It'll be good.
They don't travel that well, so there's a lot in USC's favor.
Yeah,
but I just think that let's stop talking about USC getting a new coach. This isn't the Josh Pate show. That's
okay,
right? Let's move on from that. I we'll talk at the end of the season if USC is not 8-4 or better about new coaches.
Well, like I said, I mean, he's got the #1 class in recruiting, so you can't really bounce him.
Well, nor should we want to. Again, the only issue I had an opinion with the previous caller, Marcos, when he called in is we're just looking at the data differently. And that's fair. That's okay. You know, he's looking at the line of which is weird because really where Riley started was at the bottom. He popped up and then it's been coming down. So if we want to talk about his trajectory, he took it from the toilet and brought it up there, then had 2 down seasons. If he has another good year, that just means he's had a hiccup in the middle.
Yeah. But he also had Caleb Williams. He took him with him.
He had Caleb Williams for 2023, but he didn't have an offensive line. He didn't have Addison. He didn't have Dye. He didn't have Mekhi Blackman. He didn't have Tuli Tuipulotu. It wasn't just one guy that he brought to USC for that. That's very special. And he gets no credit for. He gets 0 credit for that season. All the guys I just named outside of Tuli Tuipulotu, he brought all those guys in.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
All right, Joe. Hey, we gotta get rolling, Joe. I appreciate as always, and I love Notre Dame callers. We used to get Oklahoma calls, but we don't. But they're up now. They should be calling in. Don't worry, we'll probably hear from them if SC drops a couple of games, or definitely Jamal if we see them in the playoffs.
Oh, no doubt about that. No, Joe, it's really appreciate the call. I think we're thinking of this as an end of 2026. You know, and if he can't make the playoff this year or next year. And it's kind of shaky in terms of, you know, the on the field product, then I think we have to have a real conversation at 10 million a year. But I think we're sort of giving him this year and next year to prove himself. And it's TBD, you know, we're not pumping the Riley train. We're not jumping off of it. I think we're purely in a very pragmatic, analytical way saying it's TBD.
Yeah,
I agree.
Perfect.
I'm going to say to you, fight on, you guys.
All right. I'll say it one time. Go Irish, but that's all you get out of me, Joe. You're only getting one. All right. Take care, Joe.
Ciao.
All right. Yeah. Solid call. Thank you, Joe, for calling in. We have Julian here. I believe Julian's one that called in as well. I just had issues with the phone line, but we always have a backup with StreamYard. So. And then Jeff, if you're out there, I noticed I missed a call from Jeff. He's an Alabama fan that I remember.
Hey, can you back in the day.
We got you now, Julian. Where are you calling in from?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Julian.
Okay, good. So I'm Julian. I'm calling in from Phoenix, Arizona. I wanted to touch on, so I don't know, it seems like a lot of people kind of conflate things. And I heard that guy Marcos talk about it, and a lot of people bring this point up. They talk about, you know, Riley's been here for 4 years. This is the product in 4 years. But the reality of the situation is you have to start the timeline when the rebuild actually started. Now, if you want to have a conversation around what took him 2 years to finally get the ball rolling, that's a different conversation. But the reality of the scenario is we're only in year 2 of the rebuild. And when you factor in how down SC was and how many things he had to fix, for us to be having the #1 class coming in, right? Destiny in our hands in regards to potentially making the playoffs, team looking better than last year. And on top of the fact, a vast majority of these players are going to come back to, run it back next year as well. We're not in a bad position. I don't know why people just are so unreasonable and overreact. And then my second point is fire Riley and bring in who? James Franklin, Brian Kelly. Is just like people act like every coach is Kirby Smart, Urban Meyer, Pete Carroll, or something. It's like dudes aren't just ringing off championships all the time. Like you got to be patient and let stuff go.
Wait, hold on. Everyone can't do what Signetti did.
Hiring a bunch of coordinators like Sark, prematurely, and Lane prematurely, and things aren't going right because that's the situation we be in. We get rid of Riley, we will overbid for 2 coaches who aren't better than him, which would be Brian Kelly or James Franklin, or we would just roll the dice on a coordinator and just pray to God he turns into Dan Lanning or Kirby. So
wait, hang on. I'll push it back on Lanning in a minute, but I'll be back. Hold on.
Need to be realistic about when the rebuilds start and stop saying 4 years. But if they want to have a conversation about why it took so long, then do that. But those aren't the same thing.
No, Julian, I think it's a really fair point, and I think you framed that really nicely. Look, I think that first year in 22, it was a bit of a house of cards. It was Caleb was a generational college talent, and let's not forget how good Jordan Addison was. I mean, that doesn't get talked about enough over the years, but Tim, you and I were there. I mean, I was like 50-yard line of that Victory Bell game in 2022, and I remember turning over to my buddies. I'm like, Jordan Addison's the best player on the field. It's not Caleb. I mean, it's just wild how good Addison was. And when you got Tui Pelotu, you got Addison, you got Caleb, that covers up a lot of things. And so, that 11-3 was, there was, the ball bounced. I mean, the ball bounced SC's way in that Oregon State game. The ball bounced in that victory. I mean, there were things, it was sort of a team of destiny. And then obviously, the ball bounces the other way. But to your point, 2023 was really what Riley was inheriting, and 22 was kind of the anomaly. And I think that's why we're sitting there and saying, look, you had 23, you got 24, you got 25, you got 26. You got 4 years from 23 to be able to really put the product on the field. And then I think it's fair to make an assessment. So I think you're spot on. I think a really, really mature point in an argument. And yeah, I mean, particularly in this now NIL transfer portal world, there's just not enough proven coaches out there. And, all these programs that are, Penn State's going to be sitting there in a couple of weeks wondering, man, did we really do better than James Franklin, in terms of whoever they end up hiring? And, by the way, it's not just about doing better than James Franklin. You gave James Franklin $50 million not to coach your team. So you have to be step function above James Franklin to be able to justify that investment. So I think some programs are foolish about who they are and who else is out there, to your point. And that's why it would be very premature. Buyout, interim president, football facilities, #1 recruiting class, all the things we talked about. But yeah, this is very much a coach's market right now. There's just not that many great coaches out there. And we got to see whether we have a great one or not, because there's just such unknown right now. And I think so much is going to reveal itself in the next year and a half. Because, Riley's first 3 years at OU, he was in the playoff. How much of that was Stoops stacking the recruiting classes the years before? How much of that was Riley? It's all TBD right now, because if he can get this thing going either this year or next year, then you've got someone here for the long haul. And if he can't, then, the data starts collecting in a way where you got to have a real conversation. But really appreciate the call and the framing.
Yeah, definitely. And just the last point before I let you all go, and I know Tim brought it up earlier, but back to the, schedule isn't always, not schedule, but your record isn't always indicative of what's going on. Like in year 1, that wasn't an 11-1 football team. to your point, a lot of things went our way.
Yeah.
We didn't play the best teams in the Pac-12 at the time. Also, people forget our defense was averaging like 2.5 turnovers a game. Like, to your point, a lot of things went favorably for us to mask our issues.
Yeah,
But
two
on the
things,
flip
especially. Hold
side,
on,
us
Mekhi
having the record
Blackman.
we had last year, we
Blackman's
weren't
one.
that bad of a team
Right.
as well too. So I don't know. It's a lot of context and stuff, but people always want to just overreact. But somebody got to try to be the voice of reason. So, all right, appreciate you fellas, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, Julian.
You too, Julian. Thank you.
Two big things in that were, like I said, Mekhi Blackman and Tuli Tuipulotu did a good job of covering over a lot of the issues with that defense, which allowed them to win those games. They won a lot of close games. Think about the Arizona experiments and stuff. I mean, so you have to realize also, but if we're going to do that, we also look at the last 2 years. USC's lost a lot of close games that could have bounced either way as well. So I think in the end, it washes out. That 22 season probably wasn't as great as it looked, and the last 2 seasons probably weren't as bad as they've looked. It's kind of somewhere in between. And I'm not willing to give SC say that we're in year 2 totally, because no, we are in year 4, but they reset in year 2. This is year 4, but this is really year 1 if you want to look at how they're recruiting. Because I keep saying Chad Bowden just got here. Imagine, you guys, if we had Chad Bowden, we were recruiting like Oregon, like Tennessee as soon as Riley got here. I think we would be talking differently in year 4. That's just my opinion. So not everything is on Lincoln Riley. There's a lot to be spread around, but Lincoln Riley sure had his share of mistakes. Another caller. Hey, Brian. Hi, Brian. Where are you coming in from?
Lake Forest.
Brian, you there?
Yeah, Lake Forest.
Lake Forest. They should call him. What's on your mind?
Well, like many of the recent callers that you just had, I've been kind of stewing over the same topic with the coach. But let me start by saying that I share a lot of the emotion around, the program not necessarily being where we've seen it, growing up. But I like what the last caller just said, coming from the perspective of trying to be a voice of reason. That's why I think I like Madman so much. He always seems to play, be able to play devil's advocate, regardless of the popular, emotional opinion out there at the time. And some of the things that really bother me with my fellow Trojan fans, even as I share the same, feelings about, where the program may be at the time. I just really wish that we can, have that reasonable mindset before we start, saying things like fire the coach, whatever. And I say that because I don't really think a lot of people, I'm not saying all people, but a lot of people out there, they'll say stuff like that without thinking or considering what happens when you fire a coach. Do you find a coach that's better, or even a coach that's as good? Will you be able to do that? Do you know 100% you will be able to do that? Okay, if you do, I'm willing to have that conversation with you. If you don't, I really wish people would just, take a timeout, breathe, and think about it. Because not only do you have to go find another coach, you have to worry about all the kids that hit the portal. What happens to the recruiting class? I just wish people would have a more reasonable take other than just saying fire the coach whenever they lose or they're not happy. That is all. Just be reasonable. Think about this first. Now, if we were in the last year of coaches' contract, I'd be willing to have this conversation all night with everybody, but we're not. And that's kind of just where I'm at. I just kind of had a vent from that perspective. That is all.
No, Brian, that was really well said, and appreciate the kind words, and thanks so much for always kind of supporting the show. We really appreciate you. Look, I think it's, if I were to sort of crystallize what you were saying, the grass isn't always greener, and when you're looking at other coaches, the greatest example of this is Nebraska. Like, think about Nebraska in the 90s. Nebraska was the face of college football in the 90s with the legendary Tom Osborne. And after Tom Osborne retired, they had a coach by the name of Frank Solich. And Frank Solich won 10 games pretty consistently back when the regular season then was like 12 games, and that was deemed not good enough at Nebraska at the time because he wasn't winning national championships yet. And he was, just 3-4 years on the job, late 90s, early 2000s. He was in the national championship game against that great Miami team that I always wish in a fantasy world 2001 Miami played 2004 USC. So you're not going to win that game because that was an all-timer type of team. Nebraska fired Frank Solich. What has happened to Nebraska since Frank Solich?
Exactly.
I mean, they've never recovered. I mean, the craziest stat of all that I've seen in college football the last 15 years is that Nebraska went 10 years without making a bowl game. That was just snapped last year. And so you got to be really careful with who you're getting rid of and who you think you can get. And I think that's what's going to be so fascinating with Penn State here is that Franklin, he didn't win the big games. We get it. He won all the games he was supposed to win. He never won any of the games he wasn't supposed to win. You gave him $50 million not to coach you. Are you really going to get a guy that justifies that $50 million buyout? It's going to be fascinating.
And their fan base is even worse, in my own opinion, and I'm including myself, our fan base, because they forget where that program was before Franklin got there. Do you guys remember this Jerry Sandusky controversies? That program was dead. That place was KO'd. Nobody was going there because of what was going on. He came in and he made everybody forget about all that.
Right.
Nobody was even talking about where that place was before he got there. Now they're going to find out. And I hope we don't do the same thing.
One of the big problems that you're bringing up as well, especially with USC, is you need some continuity. And the way, if you just keep firing coaches, not let them build a couple of things. One, it's hard to build a program, but also the coaching community, they see what's happening. Yeah, that was a big thing. Lincoln Riley coming to USC was a big trust move on his part, because at that point, USC has not shown to support their coaches going back all the way to Pete Carroll. The kind of support that other programs give their coaches, USC has historically not given to its coaches. And USC was a dumpster fire. So when this is what USC fans you got to listen to as well. When Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma, he could have gone almost anywhere, and he could have stayed at Oklahoma. He left Oklahoma because he felt they weren't supporting him the way with his coaching staff, paying his coaches, recruiting, everything. He just wasn't gay. That's the story that I heard.
They were entitled.
Give me a second. Why Lincoln left to begin with? The fact that he came here, we kept thinking, bring in Urban Meyer. All the names we used to hear about the guys that were going to come in. The fact is nobody really saw what USC could be, but the support wasn't there. So they built it up and to where they have it now, where USC is rolling. So even now, if Lincoln Riley wasn't to work out, it's proven, especially with a GM, like with Bowden, that it's not going to be like it was before. But before we get over our skis, let's just let the season play out, and next year play out. I mean, I think a lot of people want to fire the coach, move on to the next thing. They don't realize that, other coaches are watching too. And, they know what Lincoln Riley did. They know the shot that Lincoln Riley did. And if he does take care of it, that's fine. But if USC fires him after like a 9-3 season, do you think anyone's going to want to come to USC the way the fans talk? Like, oh, just fire him, get someone else. What other coaches that come here after what Lincoln Riley came into, even though it was 4 years ago, and turns it around to a team that's contending for playoffs in the Big Ten? Something to think about.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for us. Looks like the chat died a while ago. Appreciate everyone being here. If you are still here, if you could hit that like button, really appreciate it. That's kind of lifeblood of all these channels. And
no doubt.
I gotta say, that the reason why I think we've pared it down, you guys, we were doing 2 live shows a week. We're going down to 1 live show a week. It doesn't seem like there really is the interest to carry two live shows a week at this point. Maybe that will change if things change, but we gauge, on basically your guys' interest on subscriptions and likes. And I'll tell you what, the videos that we're doing do much better. So we'd like to be here for you guys. We do want to build a community. We appreciate the loyal guys that always call in. I think we will always have at least one, regardless if we have like 5 of us in here, we will do it. But, we're trying to gauge interest. So if you guys let us know in the chat, or if you're still here, better yet, drop a comment for us. Let us know if you guys would rather see videos or if you want or live shows, because I'll tell you what, it's easier to do a live show than it is. It's easier to do a video than it is to do a live show. So I'm all for that. So keep that in mind. But appreciate Brian. Thanks for checking in with us.
Thanks so much, Brian. Really appreciate your call.
And I think Madman, that we are going to get out of here. We are going to go live after the game tomorrow night. So I know it's going to be late. I don't know if it's going to be live or if we're going to record a quick reaction to the game. But the 3 of us are going to go live. We're all going to be at the game. For that, we will definitely be doing a morning show on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's probably just going to be, I don't know if it's a live show. Or I'm not sure if that's a live show. Are we doing a live show in the morning? Is that right?
We'll do live. Yeah.
Okay. Live show in the morning, on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. So again, tomorrow night after the game, we'll do possibly a video reaction, or we might go live, but definitely a live show Saturday morning, like we normally do Sunday, but because of the Friday game, we're going to move up. Any final thoughts? Did we get to everything? We really didn't talk too much about Northwestern. I mean, we really didn't. That's what live shows take their own, call-in shows, they go their own direction.
Life, it'll be a good game tomorrow. Obviously Northwestern, something to watch for. Northwestern's quarterback, Tim Preston Stone, hasn't thrown for 200 yards against Power 4 competition this year. So this is going to be run-heavy game for Northwestern. They're kind of similar stylistically to Iowa, really. And so this is going to be a discipline and an effort game tomorrow. And if SC can do those 2 things, this one should really be a W. But interesting to kind of get all the fans' perspective. And you can tell that, you got to love Trojan family and always thinking about the big prize, the big shiny prize. And that's where we're trying to get to yet again. It's interesting, Tim. I'll close with this. I loved what Brian said, because there's 2 elements to can you get a better coach. One is there a better coach out there? And I'm not even talking about Lincoln Riley. I'm just talking about general programs. One is there a better coach out there? And 2 is, do you have the ability to make the assessment that you have a better coach? One of the things that's always, it's Trojan lore now, right? But Pete was the 6th choice of coach, in the 2000s. So we sort of landed on Pete volleyball accidentally,
His daughter was playing volleyball. It probably wouldn't even been an interview.
Exactly.
Right? His daughter was playing at USC.
Exactly.
Yeah, next thing you know, he's playing basketball in the gym.
Exactly. At
Yeah.
Lion Center. And so it's sometimes lightning strikes in a generation for your program. So those are the 2 things you always got to look at: is there someone truly better out there, and 2, can we get that person either through resources or through the way we go through our process? And so but lot to unpack, Tim. It was a great show, and let's see how this thing shakes out tomorrow night.
Yeah, we can't get out here without a couple of predictions. We got our Irish fan Joe Long saying he's very confident USC. I like the 20, by the way. That's mine. I've got 30. SC winning 34-20 as my score. I don't know what the line's at yet, but that's pretty dang close to the line, I think. Go ahead and drop your guys if you want to get on record. Go ahead and drop your predictions. I'd love to hear them. What do you have? What do you have?
I like
for the
that
game?
one. That's a really good one. I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna say 31-20. It's gonna be close, but I'm gonna go 31-20. I think it's gonna be fewer possessions. Both teams, I think, are gonna be leaning heavily on the run. A lot of ball control, kind of on both sides. But the game will open up for SC. It'll be a 2-score victory.
Now, is that a backdoor cover for the Wildcats? Is that what you're seeing there, or do you think USC pushes out and is close towards the end?
I think I could see it be kind of 31-13 and Northwestern get a cheap one at the end.
Okay. You heard it here first. Jamal's guaranteeing a blowout win for the Trojans tomorrow. I think it's going to play out a lot like we saw with Nebraska. I really do. Preston Stone's been struggling a little bit. I think that USC is gonna get their chances. USC is not going to be able to throw the ball at first, I think, but I think we run the ball effectively against them. Loosen it up a bit, and then the passing game will come along.
And I think Maieva's just a different guy at home, and I think there's going to be a lot more confidence there. That's what it's going to be. This is going to feel, to me, Tim, it's a great point. You think it's going to be more like Nebraska. I think it's going to be more like Michigan at home, and so that's where I'm going 31-20.
I like that. Well, then you got to say 31-13. Okay, all right, I got you.
Well, didn't I said that.
The late touch, the late
one at the end.
The late one. I got it. It's late. It's late for me. It's a late one in my head right now. So we are going to get out of here. But thank you guys all. Please do us a favor. There's more people in this chat right now that are in the likes. Saturday.
Well, Tim, we lost you a little bit there, but we got you back,
All right. See you guys all Saturday morning.